Well, here's a real estate public announcement. If you're thinking about selling a house in 2025, you have to know about this rule and the private listing, what it is, and what you should know, what kind of risks that comes with the private listing. And there are certain brokers who may actually push this on you, which I think it's wrong, but I'll go ahead and share what's going on, and I'll share the seller's advisory form that one big brokerages shared online openly, which explains a lot. And then I'll share with you one situation that you could use the pocket listing in very effective and very legal way. And yeah, so let's dive into it. Hey, welcome back to Shawn Realty Podcast. My name is Shawn Yu from Portland, Oregon. If you have any Portland, Oregon questions, just give me a call. So here's the form. Seller advisory, risks of limited market exposure. Selling a property privately without inclusion in multiple listing service, MLS, or broader public marketing channels can significantly limit visibility and reduce buyer competition, which may negatively impact your final sale price and terms. Number one, limited buyer exposure. A large pool of qualified buyers may never learn that your property is listed for sale because your property has not been given full market exposure. With reduced market exposure comes reduced visibility, and with reduced visibility comes reduced demand for your property. That makes a lot of sense, right? Number two, financial risks. Limited market exposure may and likely will result in reduced competition for your property, and reduced competition means that you lessen your chances of receiving the highest sales price and best terms for your property. So it basically says you're going to lose money, and more likely. Number three, longer time on the market. In many markets, residential properties listed with limited market exposure tend to stay on the market longer than those given full market exposure. This reality may adversely impact or otherwise frustrate plans to sell your property for the highest price and the best terms within the shortest period of time. It makes sense, right? If you just share with, let's say, 10,000 realtors versus 1 million realtors, when you expose to 1 million realtors and their buyers, there's a higher chance you get, better offer, more competition, and faster time to sell. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Some of these brokerages are, pushing the idea of private listings. I'll tell you why they're doing it at the end, but let's go back to this advisory form, which is important. Number four, no public portals. Withholding your property listing from public portals such as Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, and Homes.com may reduce its visibility, limit the pool of potential buyers, and negatively affect your chances of achieving optimal sales terms and net proceeds. Money. At the end of the day, seller, you want to make more money, right? You want to recapture the equity you built for years after years and doing remodels and all these things. Some of that can be lost with this private listing, private network, office exclusive. Let me go ahead and finish this. So basically eXp Realty, but I'm not affiliated with eXp Realty. I'm just sharing a good form that is shared by one of the big brokerages. I have my own independent brokerage. Strongly encourages you to consider exposure to the broadest market possible, which includes the multiple listing service and broader public marketing channels available to all consumers prior to accepting an offer. I think this is really important. Private network listing people might be able to get you the offer, but the chance of you getting better offer when you open to the whole market is much greater. And so to me, This is like a class action ready to happen. Let's say there are like 5,000 realtors in this one brokerage, and they say, we're going to get you the best offer. We're going to, we're going to test the market. We're going to test the water. Your price reduction history won't show on, public record, and we can just do this, we can do that, da da da. It sounds good, right? But the reality is, if they can get you this offer, when you put it out in the open market, you're going to get way better offer. And I see that over and over again, because when I track, bi-weekly the Portland, Oregon market, the listings sold without being listed, their price per square foot is way lower. I actually saw one property, I think it was in Beaverton, Oregon. It sold like almost $95 per square foot less than if they sold it on open market. So, it says, I'll go ahead and finish this. Prior to engaging in any form of office exclusive, private listing network, pocket listing, it is imperative to establish priorities and assess the potential ramifications of restricted visibility on both buyer demand and transaction result. Now, I could actually see home buyers come out and sue these companies, because some buyers, they may say, well, we didn't work with those realtors and we didn't get to see those listings. Isn't that against fair housing rule? I mean, doesn't that sound like, antitrust law breaking? I don't know. So here's my thoughts. Why some of these brokerages are doing this? That's because brokerages have to make money. In order to make money, they have to attract a bunch of realtors into their brokerage. To attract a bunch of realtors, there's not much left to do, because the online opened up the listing controlling data. So in order to attract a lot of realtors, big brokerages are like this, doing this, which is going backward, which makes the market more enclosed. And sometimes this one big brokerage can double end the deal. What I mean by that is they can find the sellers and the buyers within the brokerage. That means they just closed two deals instead of sharing to the open market and have buyer represented by another brokerage. Do you see a conflict of interest here? Yes, it is allowed in many cases within a brokerage. Broker A represent the seller, broker B represent the buyer. That's okay. But on a brokerage level, with one listing, they just sold two deals. And so they try to double end. They try to recruit and retain a bunch of realtors by doing somewhat shady thing. It is shady. Let's face it. And so, in my opinion, both sellers and both buyers could lose. The sellers could lose because it's less exposure, less buyers know about it, you get less offers, it takes longer to sell, blah, blah, blah. For the buyers, you may not even see some of these listings if you don't work with one of these big brokerages. So you want that kind of closed market? I don't think so. Me as independent brokerage, I'll be honest. If this thing plays out, small brokerages, we all have to close our doors, because it's about who has more listings. That's how commercial real estate work. Now, I'm just wondering why, commercial is not opening it up, but that's a whole other, story. I don't sell commercial right now. I'm just focusing on residential. If this thing spread out and everybody just have a pocket listing, I'll have to get as many listings I can in my neighborhood, because that's the only way that I can survive. Maybe I can dominate my neighborhood. Maybe the Bauer Highlands, I take all the listings from my 400 residents here, then I can maybe survive. Otherwise, big brokerages will gonna just take off. all the small brokerages will close. I'm talking only about handful, maybe about 6 to 10 brokerages in the country will survive. Anything else will die. And that's why they're doing it. So, but going back to focusing on the consumer protection, what's the best for the consumer, you have to advocate for open market. You cannot advocate for private listings, me as a broker. And here's one exception that pocket listing can work. This is when a homeowner already found a buyer. So for example, like my next door neighbor, they've been there for like 35 years. And John from across the street talked to them and said, hey Sue, do you want to sell your house to me because my mom next door wants to move to my next door and she would love to buy your house and we'll give you the top dollars. So in this case, you may do the pocket listing, just one party listing, that's the other word, and have a like home valuation by multiple brokers maybe, and have one of the facilitators, maybe one realtor in Oregon should be able to or represent the seller. But in that case, you already have a buyer. You know they're going to pay the top dollar by doing the home valuation from other realtors, and you should feel good about it. With the warning from your realtor saying that if you actually open it up to open market, you may get better offer. Are you still sure you want to sell it to John at X amount? So the seller has to really decide and understand the consequences, understand the risks of financial loss. In this case, marketing time doesn't really apply because they already found the buyer. So the financial risk, do they understand that? If I'm a realtor gets hired to facilitate that transaction, I'm gonna tell Sue, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Here's the comps. If you open it up, you may make $50,000 more, $100,000 more. Do you still want to sell it to John? After that is all understood by Sue, then I would proceed. I wouldn't just blankly say, well, that sounds like a great deal. Just take the commission check and move on. I'm doing disservice to Sue, right? Do you see where I'm going? So that's the only case that pocket listing can work. The one party listing or private listing can work. But other than that situation, it's a bad idea. Bad idea. I don't know why NAR, the National Association of Realtor, actually allowed this. I don't get it. Anyways, that's my whole other ranting video. But you as a consumer, just make sure to understand the risks of hiring private listing network brokers. My advice is always go to open market. Always, always, always. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions about Portland, Oregon market, give me a call at 503-515-4499. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day.